What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be taking a very special first look at the fully redesigned 2022 Chevy Bolt. Now, I'm super excited about this redesign. The Chevy Bolt is one of my favorite vehicles that we have here. I'm super into it. I love the look and the redesign. We're gonna cover everything about the new 2022 in this video, including one of the 7 new colors that we have for 2022. This is ice blue metallic. Beautiful. I really like the look of it. It's kind of like a baby blue color, basically. Very, very, very good looking. And as you can tell just from the front fascia, we've got a lot going on this redesign. It's a lot more aggressive than the outgoing model. But we're gonna talk about everything. We're going to take a look at the new interior as well. Now, this is the EV version. There is also an EUV version, which is a larger SUV, not significantly larger, but a little bit larger. We don't have one of those yet, but we will have one soon, so definitely hit that subscribe button so you don't miss that video. I was so excited when I drove past this vehicle on the lot that I grabbed it before it even went through PDI. It still had all the wrapping on it. It was still in transport mode. Got it out of that so we can take a look at everything. But let's just start up front as always. Now, this is a 2LT, so this is the top trim that you can get in 2022. You can get a 1LT and a 2LT. Those are the only trim options. As of now, I would assume that would be the only trims, but they may add like a Premier or something later on. You have this awesome new redesigned front grille. Most electric vehicles now are doing this. I know like Hyundai Kona, like some of the hybrids are doing this faux grill thing where they get rid of the actual ventilation because you don't really need it here, because you don't need active cooling on an EV. And they just kind of put these textured front panels here, which I think look great on the front of this. So a little bit smaller hood here where the motor is stored. Chevy bow tie blacked out here. Forward-facing camera for your HD surround vision camera system. And then, like I mentioned, that textured front panel here on the bottom of the fascia. Now, I mentioned this on the video I just did on the 2022 Hyundai Tucson, but everybody's doing this kind of split headlight design. So you've got a cluster here that has your regular headlights and your high beams, and then you've got your DRLs and this kind of like, much thinner, low profile DRL right here with your integrated turn signal. Now, these are LED headlights. You do have LED taillights in the back as well, so a full LED suite here. And I just love the look of this. It's very, what they're doing now, Chevy's doing this across the board, Tahoe, Blazer, Camaro, Corvette. They're all these like very aggressive angular headlight clusters, and I'm a huge fan of them. So under the hood, you have the same motor that you had in the outgoing models. You're still gonna get an EPA estimated 259 miles of range, 200 horsepower, 266 pound-feet of torque, and you have a 65 kilowatt hour battery that powers that motor right there. Now, as far as charging, they say that it's gotten a little bit better. The AC level 2 charging's gotten a bit of a boost and supports up to 11 kilowatts, but DC fast charging, which is now standard in all models, sits steady to support up to 55 kilowatts, just like the previous generation. DC fast charging, drivers would be able to add 100 miles of range in about 30 minutes. So as far as powertrain and motor options, it's basically the same as the outgoing model, which is not a bad thing. It's got a decent amount of range for the size of the Bolt. Moving on back, you kind of have these black accent pieces that run around the body here. Again, like I said, this beautiful ice blue metallic look. The 2LT here sits on these 17-inch carbon flash two-tone alloy wheels. I really, really like the look of these, especially compared to the previous generation's wheelbase. My buddy that I work with actually has a 2021 Chevy Bolt, and he just has like silver painted aluminum wheels, and I just don't really like them. So I'm a big fan of these two-tone wheels for sure. Moving on back, you've got body colored manual folding side mirrors. They've got blind spot monitoring. They're heated, and they have that HD surround vision camera system up underneath that works to create kind of 360-degree view around your vehicle when in reverse. Up here, you've got kind of a chrome trim that runs around the windows. No sunroof on this one or available at all, actually. Keyless access here on the doors, just with a little silver button here to lock and unlock. No real changes to like the body panels or anything necessarily. You do have a leading line here that runs across the 2 door panels and then works its way back here to the back of the vehicle. So making our way to the back of the Bolt here, you'll see that you've got a redesigned taillight cluster here. Maybe a little bit less interesting actually than the outgoing year. The last one had some kind of swirls in it, but you do have kind of this much cleaner design. And I think a lot of the things that they're doing here in the 2022 Bolt help take away that stigma of like screaming at oncoming drivers, hey, I'm driving an EV, right? This kind of makes it more familiar, more normal, and kind of takes away that just over-enthusiastic, like EV thing that I think makes people a little bit afraid of progressing towards that generation. You'll see that a lot more on the inside as well, kind of comparing the two. And I will have a video doing a difference, like a visual differences between the 2021 and 2022 models, so definitely be on the lookout for that. But you'll see that here, especially on these taillight clusters. A little bit less interesting, but a little bit cleaner and more normal looking, I guess would be the best way to put it. But a similar kind of two-tone tailgate with the body color and then the black around the window and the tail lights. Parking sensors dotted around the bottom. Standard HD rear vision camera right there. And you know, plastic cladding, reflectors, brake lights, things like that, as well as a rear wiper. Up underneath, you have the same cargo capacity that you did in the outgoing model. You do have 17 cubic feet of storage space with the rear seats up. And if you put the rear seats down, you get 57 cubic feet of storage space. So decent. I think you definitely, for me, for carrying a lot of big gear around, I'd probably have to have the rear seats down, but it's a decent amount of cargo space there. You can actually take this like level mat off and you get a little bit more depth. No power rear gate or anything like that, just a manual closing gate. And that's pretty much everything on the exterior. Let's hop inside the redesigned cabin. All right, so hopping inside this fully redesigned cabin, the first thing that's gonna jump out to you if you're familiar with the outgoing model is just how much more relaxed the 2022 is. The 2021 and prior models were really trying to emphasize like this is a different type of vehicle. This is an EV. And like I said outside, they did away with that. They're saying this is just what we do now. And Chevy is doing this and going to continue to do this across their lineup. They're gonna make basically everything into an EV at some point or another. All the brands are going to do this. This is just the future of what it is. You'll still be able to buy gas models, I'm sure, for years and years and years and maybe decades and decades to come. But electric vehicles are the future. That's just the facts. So they really stripped back all the stuff that would scream EV at you. The textured kind of white plastic that was going around the glove box and around the dash and things like that. They made the interface for the 10.2-inch infotainment center in line with Chevy's other products and just threw an energy menu in there to help you keep track of that kind of stuff. So they took away kind of the fully different user interface that was on the outgoing Bolt models and just kind of made it fit into the Chevy lineup nicely and smoothly. They also gave you kind of just a standard steering wheel here with their most updated design. They still have the kind of different digital display that you don't really have on any other models. And then they got rid of that whole like little center console, you know, shift knob thing that was kind of confusing in some weird ways and just gave you a nice simple pad like you have on like the Corvette and the Tahoe. It's different than the one on the Tahoe, but it looks very similar to the one on the Corvette. So we'll take a look at everything we've got in here, but just keep in mind that theme of like kind of a stripped back, more relaxed, but still a Bolt. So like I said, that steering wheel is their updated steering wheel design. We've seen this on all the new Chevy models. You have a similar button layout with your adaptive cruise control over here and your media controls over on the right side. And then you've got your regen braking button actually got moved from a little bit lower on the steering wheel where you now have media controls on either side up a little bit to almost where like a paddle shifter would be. So that is right there. It's got a little battery icon on it so you know what to do with that. Light wiper controls, similar placement there. Then like I said, that digital display right past here, I had to get it out of transport mode because I grabbed it right off the truck. It's a very similar feature set like you had on the outgoing model, but you can put like music and navigation, turn-by-turn directions on there. You can put your phone, as well as you can see two different layouts. So you've got your enhanced layout and your modern layout, and then you can scroll down to see things like tire pressure, timer, your driving assistance features, your trip calculator, all that kind of good stuff. But let's move on over to the 10.2-inch display right here. Now this is a welcomed redesign. Not that there was anything necessarily wrong with the outgoing model. I liked it. It just felt so different in like a not good way. And this is not like that at all. This is a very at-home, familiar Chevy interface. So this is their most recent infotainment system. It has a flat design language. It's very clean, very easy to use. You have some awesome standard features, 4G LTE Wi-Fi, built-in wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Again, that HD surround vision camera system. You have your energy menu that's exclusive to the EV, so this Bolt and then the Bolt EUV that is to come here later this summer, and all their future electric models will have this as well. You have your climate menu in here as well, Sirius XM radio, AM, FM, Bluetooth, everything you're used to seeing. But you do have a couple nice features here. You have a physical home button, which a lot of people like to get you back there. And then you have this little dial that you can easily switch between things, so you don't have to use touch if you don't want to. You have your power dial here, home button, and then a physical like selector dial where you can scroll through and then pick kind of what you want to use. So inside that energy menu, it will show you your remaining battery life, your battery flow when you're actually using the vehicle. It'll show you like how much of your battery is being used by each specific thing. So you've got your climate settings showing you how much it uses, your driving and accessories, how much it's using, and then how long it's been since your last full charge. Again, you can look at impacts as well, which is a really nice feature. And you can see your energy efficiency history as well. Then if you go over to charging, you can show, you can adjust the amperage that you want let into your car while you're charging, all kinds of things like that. See how long it will take to fully charge or how much time is remaining on your charge. Lots of useful information inside the energy menu. Now moving on down from the infotainment display, like I said, you do have just a standard climate control system. Everything's right there. You also have your heated seat buttons and your heated steering wheel buttons, which is awesome. I forgot to mention that. This is a leather-wrapped heated steering wheel. Moving on down from that, you have a Qi-enabled wireless charging pad, so you can stick your Qi-enabled device right down there. We'll start charging. You have your sport mode button, so you can really race this thing. Now it does have a decent 0 to 60 time at about 6.3 seconds, so it's definitely quick off the line. I mean, a lot of these EVs have great acceleration because you basically just instantaneous torque. You know, there's no like shifting through gears or anything. It's just go, like 0, go. So you get some nice responsiveness there. You can turn off your traction control, and then you can turn off your lane keeping assist button right there. Now let's talk a little bit about this shift-by-wire system. Like I said, it's similar to what you have on the Corvette. It's not as nice or as probably premium feeling. It's a lot of plastic, but you know what? It's cool nonetheless. We see this a lot. The Tahoe has one up here as well as the Suburban, but down here on the Bolt, you got rid of that annoying little shift knob that kind of you had to put in weird directions, and then the park button was a button, and it just confusing. This is just simple. Push button for park, toggle for reverse, push button for neutral, toggle for drive, and then you have a specific button now for your one pedal driving, which prior to this model year, you would just shift it to like low or whatever, and that would be your one pedal driving. So they got rid of that confusion, just made a nice button there for that option. You also have this really tiny little compartment here, which I don't have a clue what it's for. I guess change or something. If you guys know what it's specifically for, tell me in the comments, but it doesn't even fit the standard key fob down in there. It won't even, it's so small. I don't even know what you'd put in there, but nonetheless, it's storage, I guess. And then you have a little toggle for your electronic parking brake, 2 cup holders. Up under the relatively small center console, you have a nice deep pocket, and you have your little key register button right there that you can use for your teen driver mode. Also wanted to mention you do have a single USB-C port, a single USB-A port, a 12-volt outlet, and an SD card slot up above the Qi-enabled wireless charging pad. And then you also have a USB-A port and a USB-C port in the back seats. Auto-dimming rearview mirror here. No compass, but you do have a compass on the digital display cluster. Automatic windows for the driver's side. The rest are just regular power windows. You do have your light controls over here, and then you've got a Bose premium audio system here on the 2LT. I would assume on the lower trim 1LT you would not have that. And then as far as seating surfaces go, you do have a leather appointed seat here with these nice perforations with some kind of like a light gray or light blue accent stitching. I'm not sure if that's body color specific. It looks very similar to the ice blue metallic look, but it may be just standard across the board, this same color. But no cooling option, like I said, just a heated seat here. Now, I think it's really important to talk about the cabin design. Like I said earlier, it's very muted, very calm, and I really like it. It gets rid of that EV kind of loud and proud deal with just very muted, clean interior. Some might call it boring, but I think it's better to be boring in a new vehicle segment like electric vehicles are. And they're not new, but an emerging vehicle segment like electric vehicles. It's better to be boring because it's more widely accepted. And that's okay. You can just be clean and just have a battery and a motor instead of an engine. That's all. And that's what they did here. It's just very, very standard Chevy with this black gloss plastic, kind of a black, squishy leather or rubber material with some hard touch elements, accent stitching, satin pieces that connect everything, unified vent system like I talked about in some other videos. That's kind of what everyone's doing right now because it's a cool, clean design. But nothing like blows your mind here. Nothing like crazy stands out other than just the nice huge display, the digital display cluster, and I think that shift-by-wire system down here, which is not at all a bad thing. I think the cleaner and simpler, the more people are going to accept and adopt this type of vehicle. Arguably the best new feature of this 2022 Chevy Bolt is that it starts $5,500 less than the outgoing model started at, which started at $37,495. This one starts at $31,995. So, you know, you can get a 1LT before all the incentives, and if Biden pushes through even more tax incentives, you can get this for even less. But right now you can get a 1LT starting at $31,995 and a 2LT for $35,195. So let's take a quick look at the leg room that you've got back here. I think it is perfectly reasonable, and I had this first row seat back pretty far, and I've got fine leg room here. I'm about 6'1", so that gives you an idea of kind of where my knees go. There is room up underneath to put your feet, but you can fit comfortably 2 adults back here. Maybe 3 kids with this middle seat here, but I would also probably prefer keeping it down with those cup holders there and a little armrest for your 2 passengers back here. So definitely nothing to write home about, but it's also not that bad. And like I said, 2 USB ports, 1 USB-C and 1 USB-A port, and then you have a map pocket for, obviously you're not putting a map back there, but whatever you'd want to store back there behind the passenger seat. All right, so we'll go ahead and do kind of a startup and a quick test drive. Now, if you're familiar with what it's like to drive the previous generation Bolt, you're going to be right at home here in 2022. But we'll talk about the acceleration because that's kind of, I think, its best feature, and kind of ride quality, cabin noise, things like that. But let's go ahead and get a startup noise. And because it's an EV, there is no startup noise. So you kind of just jump straight into it here. But you'll go ahead and use the little shift-by-wire pad here, put it in reverse, and it will start to make that kind of humming noise. And that is a very common sound with EVs, just to let people know that you are in motion. And it will only do that at low speeds, obviously. And as you kind of accelerate, the kind of whine increases in pitch a little bit. And like I said, as far as cabin noise goes, it's pretty quiet. I'd say it's not anywhere near the most quiet vehicle I've ever driven, but it does have like pretty thin panels and doors, so that makes sense. And you can use the little regen braking, kind of almost a paddle shifter now, behind the steering wheel to go ahead and slow yourself down. You can also switch it over to the 1-pedal driving mode, and if you do that, as soon as you let your foot off the brake, the vehicle slows down just immediately. So that's kind of nice if you want to use that. Let's go ahead and get it out on this road and put it in sport mode. Really get a feel for that acceleration because it is just instantaneous. I mean, it is quick. As far as responsiveness and steering, it's just what you would expect with something that is this size. Very, very responsive, handles really, really well. Overall, the best way I think I can describe it is just quick. It is just instantaneous, no delay, no waiting for that engine to churn through gears. You just hit it and you're gone. And that is a really, really satisfying way to drive. As far as usability while driving as well, I think that's a really important thing to talk about. This touchscreen is great. It's huge, it's easy to access. The only thing that is a little weird for me is how close these buttons are behind the steering wheel. I've done this like multiple times today when trying to reach these buttons. So I think they mainly encourage you to kind of use your hand if you're going to be operating this while driving, which again is not probably the safest thing to do, but everyone knows that you do it. So I don't know why you have to pretend like you don't, but trying to access these buttons when they're right behind the steering wheel, kind of at the driver's angle, is a little weird. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Drop a like on the video if you loved it. Tell me in the comments down below, what do you think about the full redesign here for the 2022 Chevy Bolt? Let's have a conversation down in the comments. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button to be one of the first to see every single new video the second I hit publish. We'll see you in the next one.